record. Next one we've got. All right, so today what we're going to talk about is the mental side of the game. Like some people would call it sports psychology. Gauge fell off here. And keeping in mind our mindset. Now, what I'm going to make the case to you that this is not just something that's for football. All right, we're going to talk about it within the understanding of how we would do it in football, but you can do this all day long. You can do this in the middle of your social studies class. You can do it in the middle of class, anything to remain focused. So let me start with you guys. This game is all about what we ultimately get to do when we're on the football field. So every play is added together that ultimately gives you a chance to win a football game as a team. But each play, it's you versus a defender or defenders. And so you have to understand that somebody wins on every play. And so what we want to do is make sure we're at our best to be able to do that. And so that's kind of the top of the mountain, these game reps. Game reps don't come around that often. In football, you end up with a lot of practice reps. So we need to make those practice reps as realistic as possible, as much game-like as possible. And so that's part of what we will do in our practice environment. But right now, because we can't have practice, but we can have you guys working out. And I've seen you guys doing that. I love it. It's great. And each rep, what you're really doing is competing against yourself. Is probably the way it's going. You're probably working out by yourself, which you should be. And what you want to do is get yourself in the best position such that you can remain focused to compete. And so how do you do that? Right? We've already talked about nutrition, recovery, sleep, how you treat your body. That's the physical side of it. The other side is the mental side of it and how you prepare mentally for what you're going to ask your body to do and also what you're going to attempt to do against somebody who's competing. And so I'm going to show you a video. And this is he's going to be talking a little bit about baseball. So Gage will like this one, but it's applicable to football. And I will point that out to you. But he talks about remaining in control, being in control, making things simple. What can you control and what can you remain calm to be able to do? And ultimately it's a refocus plan that we will develop when the time is right. So let me do this. This is Ken Ravizza, and he is, he was very, very famous. He passed away about 2 years ago. I met him when I was out at West Point as a football coach. They have what's called the Center for Enhanced Performance, and it's exactly what it sounds like. And it has application in all areas of the cadet life, military, academic, physical. And so that was how I met him. And he worked with our football team and with our football coaches for quite a while. So we're going to listen to some of his words here. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but we'll listen to a little bit of it.
You break things down and keep it simple. It's one thing at a time.
So I'll stop right there. Here, simple. One thing at a time. Okay. So don't worry about the whole thing. We'll deal with one thing at a time. I'm going to ultimately help you to figure out what those things are.
Like we said, I'm in control of myself. I have a plan. I trust what I got. Okay. Self-control, big part of it. When we look at being in control of ourselves, what a lot of it involves is awareness, recognition. I see athletic performance like driving a car. You come to an intersection, there's a light. If the light's green, you go. If the light's yellow, better attend to the intersection, check the rearview mirror for a police officer, and make your decision what you're going to do. If the light's red, you got to stop. As an athlete, you need to know what happens to me when I start moving from green lights to yellow lights to red lights, or what we used to talk about when you start spinning. And if you don't catch it early, you spin out of control. And then you start giving at bats away, give games away, and you beat yourself.
So real quick, now you talked about spinning out of control. That doesn't mean that that's something that occurs just because some unfortunate things are happening or bad stuff is happening. That can also be applicable when things are going very well and you're not able to remain focused because you're having too much success. So this is not the plan for when things are going bad. This is the plan for all the time.
Yes, if I can recognize it. Now, under the recognition, I've got to recognize these things in myself. What happens to me? What happens in my body? What happens to my thinking? What happens to my behavior? Do I quiet down with my behavior? Do I get internal? What happens with my thinking? Do I get critical, judgmental? Do I get angry? What happens in my body? Does my heart rate increase? Muscle tension increase? Hands feel weird? All of these things, factors play in. We need some of that arousal, but we don't need too much. We're not talking about being relaxed and mellow here because you're competing. We're talking about controlled intensity. Controlled intensity, and everyone's going to be a little different where they need to be. Okay. The other thing, Chad, that comes into it is once I recognize it, then I've got to release it. I've got to have some way to let it go. Okay? It may be stepping out of the batter's box, undoing the batting grips, let it go, strap them back on. It may be hitting the chute. It may be just the distance you move away from home plate. Whatever the thing is for you to recognize, I'm not where I need to be right now, I'm letting this go, and then I'm regrouping. I'm getting myself back together. Remember we said earlier, you got to be in control of yourself before you control your performance. Your body language is huge, how you carry yourself. It's the classic case of a kid that's in there and he swings at his pitch and he misses and he bangs the bat and then he strikes out on the changeup. Versus the kid, he's in there, swings at his pitch, misses it, bangs the bat, comes back, timeout. Who are you going to bet on? Yeah. It's a no-brainer. Absolutely. For the parents, how your child works the process. Did they recognize? Now, just because they take that breath, it doesn't mean they're going to get a hit, drive in two, and be a hero. This isn't Disneyland. This is the real world, okay? But as a parent, you can validate your son or your daughter for the way they went about it and gave themselves the best opportunity for success. That's the type of thing that parents need to be attending to, not the damn results. The results are going to take care of themselves. That's okay. But if I can recognize where I'm at, I can release what I need to release, and I can regroup to get to that next pitch. Right? That's huge because now I can think clearly. Okay. Now, for a pitcher,
clearly give yourself the best opportunity for success. And so you can apply that in practice. You can apply it when you work out. You obviously know you've got physical things to take care of, but you've got the ability to also harness the mental strength that you have. And you can do this in the middle of class. You can do it. I would have this locked and loaded for classes that start on Monday, and how can you remain focused when you're going to have to be there for 60 minutes? And so this action, it was an action that he was talking about. Right? He was talking about the wrists, or hitting, taking the bat and hitting the cleats, but it was a definitive physical action. It's like it could be, like grabbing my hat and pulling on it and then letting it go. Okay. But it needs to be something physical that you would attempt to do. And that's telling yourself, right? Telling yourself to refocus, to remain on the best plane for success. Oops, wrong one. All right. So how does this thing work with football? Okay. Now, I've got this written up for wide receivers. I coached wide receivers for quite a long time. So he also talked about keeping things simple, one thing at a time. So this might be totally new. And this is not, how do you act during a play? This is how you act over the entire cycle of a play. So a play lasts about 6.5 seconds, somewhere around there, but there's about 45 seconds between plays. So the ratio right there of not actually running a play to being on the field and being ready to run a play, there's clearly a lot that you need to accomplish between plays. We don't just wait for those 6.5 seconds and then just wait and see what happens. So let me break this down. This is for wide receivers, so we're not going to deal with the details, but these segments exist for everyone. So at some point, you're going to come onto the field. Right? You're going to have to come onto the field from the sideline. Okay. You need to know you need to know some things. And let's just focus on this one. You need to prepare your body and your breath. That's that control. Coming from the sideline, you might be needing to increase your arousal, or you might be needing to remain more calm. So it just depends on the situation. You're going to do something in the huddle, right? You're going to go from the huddle to the line of scrimmage. Gives you a little bit of time. You're going to hustle. Gives you a little time to get a positive mindset. Maybe visualize yourself, a quick visualization, having success, right? Again, at any position, doesn't matter what position you are. And then this is what we start to get. I'm looking forward to teaching you about, what are you doing at the line of scrimmage? There's a lot of stuff that you do at the line of scrimmage. Each position has something different, but this one would be the same. You're going to have an explosive stance and start. So we've already talked about that. We've talked quite a bit about it. So we continue to hopefully encourage you to work on that. You're going to use your eyes. The game of football is played with the eyes quite a bit. There's a lot to see and process. All right. I even go back to stance and start again. It's that important. Right. There it is. Explosive. Right. Efficient, explosive. Every time you're doing it, you're doing one of two things, either getting better or worse at it. You are not ever pushing, sort of pulling a draw, if you will. Okay, after the play. So here you run the play, right? After the play. We'll get up, we'll show no pain. Okay, even if it's good pain or bad, but show no pain. Jog back to the huddle. And then, boom, there we are back in our refocus plan. Okay? That is the way we center ourselves after a good or a bad play. Right? You may have won on that play in your personal battle. You may have lost in that personal battle. But either way, we've got to flush it. We've got to get rid of it. That's another thing that Dr. Ravizza was very famous, was known for. Flushing it was kind of this moniker. He worked a lot with several baseball teams, the Angels and stuff. And the thing is if we want to do it in a game, right, when you need your best performance, we got to practice it. So I would encourage the same thing. If in class on an exam, if you want to remain focused, right, if you want to do that in an exam, you got to do that at other times. You've got to practice it. If it's something that you want to be become good at. Okay, let's end with this one. I'm going to ask for some, stop sharing. I'm going to ask for you guys in the chat. I'll do it first. So just from the perspective of